Hello everyone, welcome back. One of my viewers asked me in the comments to talk a little bit about the problems with the short stroke gas piston. Okay, so I've done a number of videos over the last year covering the SCAR 17 and the SIG MCX, both of which are short stroke gas piston systems, and I did mention some of the issues that you can run into. Okay, now for those of you that don't know, like for example the SIG MCX here, it's a gas operated system. So when the bullet comes down the barrel, there's a porthole here, the gas comes up. Okay, but instead of the gas coming all the way back and hitting the bolt carrier, right? Instead, because like with this one over here, the gas comes up, there's a gas tube over here, and then the gas comes all the way back, and basically it drops down into the gas key. That's your direct impingement. With the short stroke system, what's happening is gas comes up, okay, and it hits a piston or an operating rod, and then that rod pushes back. Now the rod on different systems sometimes can be a little bit longer, sometimes it can be shorter, but basically the rod gets pushed back, and then that rod interacts with the bolt carrier and pushes it back. Okay, on the SIG MCX, let's pause for a second. Let me push this. There we go. So on the SIG MCX, there's no gas key, right, where the gas comes down and drops into the bolt. What you usually have is some type of a tune, like this one is really forward, so the gas piston on the SIG MCX is really short, or the operating rod is really short. The same thing with the SCAR. It's pretty short. It's about that big. So that piston comes back, hits this, and then moves this back. Okay, so there's no hole here, no gas key. There's no vent holes here. The gas does not come back down into it. Some advantages, some disadvantages. Main advantage is that because the gas is not coming back into the bolt carrier, the gun stays a little bit cleaner. Okay, and it stays a little bit cooler. Okay, and a lot of times people say that the fact that it runs a little bit cooler is more important. It doesn't dry up the lubrication. Over the past year, I have found that motor oil is like best lubrication. Like I can run the gun a lot hotter, and the motor oil doesn't seem to like evaporate, for lack of a better word. The same way a lot of times that the Remington gun oil seems to dry up a little bit faster. So using with the short stroke gas systems, it doesn't seem to be an issue, right? Gas is not coming back, it's not getting dirty, and it's your lubrication's not drying up. Now there are some issues, one of which is you can have bolt tilt, right? Because when the gas comes up, and when it comes up and then it gets directed back, that piston is only traveling a really short distance. Okay, so what has to happen is that this has to get hit really hard and really violently in order to give this enough energy to travel back, right? Because with the direct impingement system, like this one here, okay, it's a lot smoother because the gas comes up, it's basically flowing through the gun, all right, and so it's coming back through, it's coming back through the gas tube, it's dropping down through the bolt carrier. Okay, so it's actually coming in through the gas key. It's dropping down into your bolt carrier, and it's actually putting forward pressure, right? A little bit of forward pressure before this actually starts moving back. Now, that forward pressure actually, what it does is, because it puts forward pressure, if you look at the lugs over here, right, the locking lugs, there's like usually no wear on the back of a direct impingement system, right, because there's forward pressure while this is pushing back. With the short stroke system, right, because there's no forward pressure, right, this gets hit really hard, really violently, okay? Remember, this thing is locked, right? You still got the cam here. So what happens is, because this is locked, there's no forward pressure on this. So a lot of times you're going to start seeing a little bit of wear on the back of the lugs over here, because it's like, there's no forward pressure when this starts moving back. Okay, so that's one of the things that you're gonna watch for. Now with this SIG MCX, I can see that they've actually got it cut forward a little bit. They've actually got it cut so it's slightly angled forward a little bit, I guess, to try and mitigate some of the wear on the back of the locking lugs, right? Because you're going to have pressure, because as this thing moves back, remember, it's locked, it's pulling back, okay? So it's really tight, as opposed to with the direct impingement system, okay? This is a bit more squarish, right? See how these are a little bit more squarish, right? Because that's not an issue, because what's happening is when the gas comes down, it puts forward pressure on this as this starts pulling back. So there's really no wear on the back of the lugs over here. Okay, so that's one of the things you just want to be aware of with your short stroke gas piston system, and something to watch out for, because there's lots of different companies that make short stroke systems, and in some cases maybe they paid more attention to it than in other cases. Okay, so yeah, with the SIG MCX, we can see how they've actually angled the lugs forward to try and take some of the stress out. Okay, so again, this is the result of this getting smacked really hard over here, because it's got a really short distance to build up enough power to move this thing all the way back. Now, one of the things that a lot of times happens when this thing gets hit here, you get bolt tilt, right? Because when this thing's getting pushed to the top here, the bolt wants to tilt back a little bit, and you can see here on the SIG MCX, even though it has a relatively low round count, right? You can see how there's some wear in the back of the bolt carrier from this thing tilting back a little bit. Even though I think part of the spring internal spring design that they have here is, I think that this also prevents, right? Because if I go like this, that also prevents some of that bolt tilt. But even with that bolt, with that design, you can clearly see how this has wear marks towards the back, versus with your standard, AR-15 bolt carrier, right? There's absolutely no wear in the back here, right? Because you don't have that bolt tilt. The place where you'll typically see the wear marks are up here, over here, a little bit here, over here, and they've got this area. You see how they've got this area built up a little bit, right? Because they know that this is the area where most of the stress is going to be, most of the wear, right? So here, and these are the areas that you want to lube, right? When you put your motor oil or whatever oil you use, basically you want to oil this area here, this area here, this area here, places where you see the wear marks. Okay, so you're gonna have some wear, on anything. So the wear is going to be on slightly different places. Okay, like interestingly, with the keep the camera, with the direct impingement, you're going to see some wear towards the front over here, right? This bolt has very little, a very low round count on it, and still it's showing. I mean, that's basically discoloration, but that's giving you an idea of where the wear is going to be. This is going to be towards the front, versus on the direct impingement. versus with the short stroke, it's going to be in the back. You're most likely going to start to see it back here, and they've designed it in such a way that to try and minimize that. Okay, I mean, you still got some wear over here, you still got some wear over there. Okay, now in order, as part of this design, in order to have, the side folding stock, I did a separate video on the side folding stock. They have the internal recoil spring here. I personally don't like this spring design. For one thing, I've seen a video where this thing had basically just come apart. AR-15 buffer tube springs. I mean, I got lots of ARs. Some of them I actually burnt out the barrel. I did a video on one that I burnt out the barrel at 22,000 rounds. The recoil spring went all the way to the end. Okay, so I've never ever seen an AR-15 buffer tube spring that went bad. So I don't particularly like this design here. First of all, there's lots of parts. There's like the way this thing is just held together. I mean, I don't trust it. Okay, I mean, it's a great gun and all, but I mean, this is. I mean, I would like to, I mean, for me to say that this is something that you can rely on, that this will last you, through Armageddon. I'd have to see the military, use it or something. Okay, but in fact, even with the AK-47, right? The AK-47, I actually did a video. I broke the recoil spring on an AK-47 at somewhere around 10,000 rounds, and I had to replace that. So even on AK-47s, the recoil spring, which is a little bit smaller, a little bit weaker compared to, it's an area that is going to break before your standard. I don't have one here. Before your standard AR-15 buffer tube spring. Okay, that buffer tube springs are really strong. Sometimes they'll shorten up. You're not supposed to do it. I've actually taken them and I've stretched them. And I said, okay, let's see how long it goes. Never had one break on me. Even after I stretched it to bring it back to its standard length, the things just keep going. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to the topic of the short stroke system, right? So these are the things you got to watch out with this. That this gets hit really hard. It's a really hard, violent action, and it causes bolt tilt. And that bolt tilt, what it's going to do is same thing here, because same thing here. You've got, everything's on top of the bolt. Okay, so this is going to have a little bit more lift, all right? Because with the direct impingement, because the gas is basically flowing through the bolt, right? It's coming, on direct impingement, it's coming straight back in line with the stock. When you have, on either the short stroke or long stroke or any piston system where the action is on top, because it's on top, it's going to cause a little bit more lift. Okay, so that's just a natural thing of where this is being hit. Okay, so this is being hit on the top, so this is going to tilt the bolt up, and it's going to lift up the whole gun a little bit. Okay, it may not be a lot, but it's going to lift up the whole gun a little bit. Okay? So anyway, moving beyond the design of the bolt carrier, the other thing to be aware of with the short stroke and also with the long stroke, okay, because this AK over here, this has a long stroke. Okay, the only difference between short stroke and long stroke is with the long stroke, the piston is attached to the bolt carrier. Right? Let me pull this back. So with your long stroke, okay, this is your bolt carrier here. This is your piston rod. The two are attached, and the whole thing moves together as one. So that's the long stroke. With the short stroke, these two are separated. Okay, so what's happening is the operating rod comes back, smacks the bolt carrier, and the bolt carrier moves back. Okay, so now one of the things that, if you look at this, right, you notice that you got this long thing, right, that's sticking out here, right? So after this gun fires, this thing comes back. I mean, first of all, this, if you can see, there's a little bit of movement here, but even like, I mean, that's just part of the design, but just because this is long, there's going to be a little bit of vibration over here, right? So after the gun fires, this thing's going to vibrate a little bit, until it finally settles. And that vibration, right, is happening right over your barrel. So as it's vibrating, depending on when you're firing your round, because remember there's a thing as barrel harmonics. When the rifle fires, the barrel naturally flexes a little bit. So anything that you have attached to your barrel is going to affect how it flexes. Okay, so in this case, you know, I've got this piece of metal here, right? That's attached to it. But this piece of metal here and the front sight post here, even though they're attached to it, they don't move. Okay. However, with this part here, okay, this moves. So every time the round fires, this can be in a slightly different point in its vibration as the bullet's going out the barrel. So because this thing is vibrating, that can change the barrel harmonics. Okay, so with the short stroke system, the piston is usually a lot shorter, right? Particularly on the SIG and the SCAR, it's pretty short, but it's still that piston that's moving back and forth is never going to be in exactly the same position. So when the bullet comes through the barrel, if the piston's in a slightly different position, you know, you're going to get a slightly different barrel harmonics. Now, when you have, because if you look at like the H&K design, right? On the operating rod on that is actually really long. Okay, and they do put a spring in there to try and control it, right? It doesn't need a spring, but they do need they put a spring in there so that when that rod moves back and it comes forward, the spring tries to control it and tries to keep it in the exact same position. But still, if you look at an H&K fire, right, with the short stroke system, if you watch it after it fires, if you look at it in slow-mo, like in one of those fast frame cameras, that operating rod is vibrating a little bit. Okay, so that's also going to interfere with the barrel harmonics. Now, how much of a difference is it? Like, you'll still get one MOA. Okay, if you're trying to get inside of one MOA, if you're trying to hit like half-inch groups, that's where you'll start seeing some differences. Okay, now with the SIG MCX, I can get 2 inches at 100 yards pretty easily, but I can get 2 inches with any budget $500 AR-15. Okay, so here we got a $2,000 SIG MCX. You know, that gets like 1.5 inches at best, right? The best I've ever got with it was 1.5 inches. I got the SCAR here. I think the best I've ever gotten with this was like 1.25 inches. So again, now we got like a $4,000 gun. So so you can still get to that pretty close to 1 inch, but you're paying a whole lot of money. Whereas with like your typical Palmetto Radical Firearms, budget AR-15, $500. If you're shooting decent ammunition, boom, you're already at 1 inch, 1.25 inches. And I've shot lots of budget AR-15s with decent ammunition, with a magnification. You're gonna, like, they all shoot close to 1 inch. Okay, so now the question becomes, okay, why get a short stroke piston system? Now, the OMI or piston system in general, the main reason is if you're going to put a suppressor on the gun, okay? Because when you put a suppressor on the gun, okay, what's happening is the suppressor or silencer is building up a lot of back pressure. So now you get a lot of extra fouling that comes back into the gun. So the easiest fix, okay, is to put an adjustable gas block, like I got on this one, right? So this one has, I think, something like 15 positions. You put an Allen key through the front, they click into place. That's going to, you can get one from Palmetto. They actually have a 26 positions. They call it 5 position, but it's 5 positions per turn for a total of like some 26 positions from Palmetto. $35. That's going to take care of your back pressure issues with your suppressor. Okay, I'm a big fan of, you know, take the easiest, cheapest solution, and if then that doesn't work for you, you know, then take it to the next level. Okay, I'm not a big fan of, you know, looking for solutions to problems that you don't have yet. Okay, so that's my personal thing. It's served me pretty. That way of thinking has served me pretty good over the years. I mean, guys, I'm a full-time gun instructor. I have been doing this for about 15 years as a gun instructor. I basically run a business with palmettos. Okay, even though I have more expensive guns, most of the days that's what I'm running: palmettos and radicals. Okay, let me pause this because I got this plane coming overhead. All right, I took the opportunity during the pause to put these guns back together. So on the AK, with that long stroke gas piston system, the way this gun was designed is that the vent holes are like way up here. Okay, so any extra gas is going to vent out through the front, and that works great for all AK ammo, up until you put a suppressor on it, right? Because you would think that, hey, if you put a suppressor on this, you've got extra back pressure that should vent out of these holes, right? And you should be good. And I didn't know the answer to that, but I actually had a guy here. We did a video on this, and we mounted a suppressor on an AK-47, and the gun had cycling issues, right? There was we put the suppressor on the AK. There was too much back pressure, and we had cycling issues. The solution was we had a and the guy that owned the gun suspected that it might be a problem, so he had bought a I did a video on this, I don't remember the name, but he had bought an aftermarket bolt carrier that allowed you to adjust the gas. And when we put actually the adjustment was actually part of the piston. So when we put the gas adjustable AK-47 bolt carrier piston on it, then the gun started running fine. Okay, so if you're going to put a suppressor on an AK-47, you're gonna have overpressure issues with most of the suppressors. So you're gonna need one of those. You're gonna need some way to tune down the gas that's coming back. Okay, so that, you know, the reason I know is because, you know, I saw it right in front of me. I would have guessed that it wouldn't have had a problem, but in practice it did have a problem, and we had to put an aftermarket bolt carrier assembly on it, piston rod, to fix the problem. Okay, with most suppressors, I'm going to advise people to just swap out the gas block and put an adjustable gas block on it. One that had, now you want to make sure that, you know, the one with the Allen key, but just make sure that it locks into position, right? You don't want one that just spins but doesn't lock. You want it to click into position, because if it doesn't click into position, it's going to, as you're shooting it, it's going to move on you. So you need that Allen screw, right? That screw that adjusts the gas to lock into position. The one from Palmetto is really good for $35. There's other ones out there that I think that do the same thing that usually cost about $100. Okay, so that's why I'm going to mention the Palmetto one. I would say if you're going to put a suppressor on the gun, that's where I would start. Now, there's other ways to restrict the gas coming back, like you can get a restricted gas tube. But the problem with that is, like, okay, how much restriction do you need? The nice thing with the adjustable gas blocks that have like 26 positions, I mean, you can really fine tune it with the Allen key exactly how much gas you want coming back into the system, and that's going to take care of overgassing. It's going to control the bolt carrier overheating. But, you know, now, is it going to run as cool as the SIG MCX one? No, it's not going to run that cool. But I really don't think it's an issue. Now, the thing to know with when you put a suppressor on a gun, right, the thing that's going to heat up the most is the barrel and the suppressor, right, because that heat is getting locked into that suppressor. So that's going to heat up the most. So usually if you're going to suppress a gun, you probably don't. You're probably not going to be doing like magazine dumps. Okay, you know, you're probably not. Now, if you plan to be doing magazine dumps, you know, then that is a reason why, you know, if you're gonna be doing like suppressed magazine dumps, that's probably a good reason to get a short stroke, you know, or piston AR-15, right? If you're gonna have a suppressor on it and you plan to do dumps, I mean, the suppressor itself is gonna get really hot. I mean, heat is the killer of guns, basically. Okay, so it doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap. If you're always doing mag dumps and the barrel's always going to get hot, you're going to be, you know, you're going to, the rifling on that gun is going to wear out a lot faster. Okay, so heat is the killer. So I've never not done things that I wanted to do because I was worried about, you know, ruining the gun or anything like that. Right? So if I really want to do something, I don't care if the gun's going to wear out faster. I'll do it, and then just a barrel replacement is going to be part of my cost, right? So, you know, I'm buying ammunition, I'm burning through ammunition, right? So I'll factor in that, okay, as part of that, you know, by 8,000 rounds, I'm going to probably need another barrel, okay? So I just factored that into the cost. Versus if I'm not running the barrel that hot, I know that the barrel will probably get me up near 20,000 rounds. Okay, so that's just one of those things that you got to factor in. So if you want to have a suppressor on the gun and you want to do mag dumps all the time, all right, so okay, you're spending a bunch of money on the ammunition, add to that cost another barrel, you know, somewhere around 10,000 rounds. Okay, and that's just part of your cost. If you're going to have a suppressor on the gun and you're not going to be shooting the gun, if you're not going to be doing mag dumps all the time, you know, then you'll probably get a lot closer to 20,000 rounds on that barrel. Okay, so you know, I'm not saying do something or don't do the thing that you want to do. Just factor in, you know, the wear and the cost. Okay, those are my thoughts on that. So yeah, for most people, just getting an adjustable gas block, that's going to solve their issues. If you're doing the mag dumps and your bolt and the whole gun's getting hot, right? The bolt's getting really hot and you're burning off all the lubrication. Yeah, maybe you should get a short stroke, you know, piston system. Now they do make aftermarket ones where you can upgrade your AR. There's two companies. One is Adams Arms. Last I heard, they stopped doing business, okay, or stopped selling. I don't know if they're going to come back or whatever. But the other one is Superlative Arms. I like that one better because I think it costs something like somewhere between $250 and $300. They give you a gas block, the piston, and the bolt carrier. And the gas block is adjustable in two ways. And if you turn the adjustment valve, right, the Allen screw in one direction, it's restrictive, so it restricts how much gas is coming up and back. If you do it the other way, at a certain point, what it does is it allows you to bleed the gas out the front. Okay, so so if you go in one direction, you're stopping the gas or restricting the gas coming up. If you go the other way, it allows all the gas to come up, but then some of it goes out the front. So that seems like a really good adjustable, you know, system. Okay, now they give you an operating rod, right? It's about, you know, it's usually about that big. Okay, so it's a little bit longer than what's on the SIG MCX or the SCAR. They give you the operating rod, and there's a spring that helps control the bounce. Okay, and then there's a little collar that you actually put, because what you're going to do is you're going to remove. When you remove the gas tube, right, there's a hole in there, so they give you a collar that fits into that hole, and then the operating rod goes through that, and again that collar helps control the movement of that piston going back and forth, so you don't get too much bounce, and it's a little bit more consistent. Okay, and then they give you a bolt carrier, not no bolt, just a bolt carrier, that instead of having a gas key here that brings the gas down, it's a tombstone. It hits this, it stops right there, and then it slams this thing back. Of course, you're gonna get that bolt tilt. That's just part of the formula. You know, I think they actually cut the bolt in the back a little bit at an angle to help it absorb that a little bit of that bolt tilt. So naturally, you know, the bolt's going to be tilting up. Also, the gun's going to probably be, you know, you're going to have a little bit more rise than you would have with the direct impingement system. But that's just part of the thing. What you're gaining is you don't have the bolt heating up and getting dirty because the gas never drops down into the bolt. Okay. So yeah, so that's superlative arms. The last I looked, it was like $250 to $300. What I would if I was going to get a piston system, like now, like if I would get that. That's what I would get rather than go with the Scar or Sig MCX. I would get that to try that out. It's only $250. Get yourself a Palmetto or Bear Creek Arsenal upper. You know, you get that for whatever, $200. And you know what? It's part of the learning experience, right? Upgrade that one. You know, take out the gas tube, change out the gas block. So it's a good you know, training experience for you to learn how to do that. Upgrade that to the piston system and try it out and see how you like it. And if you find that you're shooting it a lot and you're enjoying it, and for some reason it's not good enough for you, right? Then I would consider getting something like a Sig MCX or one of these other systems that have the a piston built into it. There's another company out there, I forgot the name of it. What they have, basically it's an AR piston system, right? But instead of it being short stroke, where you have the piston smacking the tombstone on top of the bolt carrier, there's actually it's a long stroke where there's an operating rod that's attached to the bolt carrier that actually comes all the way forward, just like with the AK-47, and it comes all the way forward to your gas block. Okay. Now I don't remember if they have an adjustable gas block. I think it might have been part of the problem that I see with a lot of these piston guns, like also with the Scar and the Sig MCX here, is they only give you two positions, right? They only give you suppressed and unsuppressed. And with both of these guns, even when I'm shooting them unsuppressed, right, I have the setting set to the suppressed position. So even the suppressed position, right, or the low gas position, allows enough gas into the system for the gun to run without a suppressor. So if I were to put a suppressor on those guns, these guns are still going to be overgassed. Okay, so that's one of the issues that I find with a lot of these piston guns. The gas block is not adjustable enough. I prefer something that has something like 15 to 26 adjustable gas positions. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the issues with that. So as I was saying, there's one company out there that makes a long stroke AR-15 style gun where the operating rod is actually attached to the bolt carrier, comes all the way out front, and basically goes into the gas block, and then the whole thing moves back. The benefit of that is because you've got this rod that's going back and forth, that kind of controls the bolt tilt a little bit. You still have a mass moving back and forth on top of the gun, but because it's a long stroke, it's going to prevent that a little bit. So that might be something to look into. But like I was saying earlier, I generally recommend to people, don't go to an AR-15 piston system unless you have a good reason to, right? And the reason that most people usually have is that they'll put a suppressor on the gun, right? Getting an AR system, like getting a gas piston system like this that has no suppressor on it, there's really no benefit to it. I mean, if this was a direct impingement gun, it would have been lighter. Okay. So the only reason to have a piston on an AR is because you intend to put a suppressor. And then I'm a big fan of, just, get the adjustable gas block, see if that fixes it for you, if that's good enough for you. If it's not good enough for you, address the problem that you're having. Okay, is the bulk carrier getting too hot for you? Are you getting too much dirt in the back? What is it? Then we can come back, and when we can revisit it, and we can find a specific solution to a specific problem that you're actually having, not going shopping in advance, looking for solutions to problems that we don't have yet. We don't know if we're gonna have. Okay, so my thoughts on this. If you got some comments, please drop them below. I'll talk to you soon.